Welcome to episode 3 of Win the Day. Just a reminder that this show is available on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, and just about anywhere that you can find a podcast. So go and hit subscribe and you will be able to access episodes as soon as they are released. So without further ado, let's get into the show. And today's episode 3, is the Rob Dyrdek story, from skateboarder to business mogul. If you've read Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, or seen the movie, you might recall that Rob is featured in that, and it's a truly extraordinary career from Ohio right through to dominating the media and entertainment business here in Beverly Hills in LA, California. So it's a super amazing story that I know you will be able to get a lot from, and I learned so much from my interview with him. And the quote for today's episode, of course, comes from Rob, and it says, "Everything you seek to achieve, build a believable plan." Everything you seek to achieve, build a believable plan. And if you think back to episode 2 of Win the Day, it was all about not looking for magic bullets. And you might recall that we spoke about how the right plan is far more important than the right promise. After all, you can promise yourself anything you like, but without a detailed plan of how to actually achieve it, you're going to continue to bounce from failure to failure, despite what might be the best of intentions. So thoughts are great and talk is great, but purposeful action wins always. So that's the big focus you need to have if you want to be successful, irrespective of the industry. Purposeful action. And Rob has been an expert at not just that, but also creating these comprehensive plans that enabled him to constantly level up and succeed in new industries. And let's just talk about the overall process for a moment. So having positive thoughts makes it so much easier to conceive what is possible for us. And then once we have that clearer mind, once we've conceived what that future looks like, it's so much easier for us to believe that it's going to happen. And then once we believe it, it's so much easier to create those detailed plans. And once we have those detailed plans, it's so much easier for us to figure out what actions we need to take today and tomorrow and the day after that's going to get us those long-term results. And importantly, the right plan encapsulates remedies for just about every adversity and obstacle that you are going to face along the way. And that keeps you resilient, focused, and giving you your best overall chance of success. And I want you right now just to take a moment to think about an experience in your own life where you fall short. Maybe you fell off the wagon just a few weeks into a weight loss goal. Maybe you didn't get the grade you were after on a university assignment, or maybe you didn't get a job or a promotion that you were looking for. And regardless of what the experience was, the reason you probably fell short was because you didn't have a strong enough plan to make it a reality. And that might sound harsh, but we're going to go through all that in much more detail so you can move forward with a much better plan, so you can take purposeful action to achieve everything that you want in life. And as author of Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, I was tasked with interviewing all these amazing people from all over the world to really tell their stories from hopelessness to success. And the common theme for all of them was creating a bulletproof plan. It was a bulletproof plan that got Jim Stovall, despite being blind, to be the author of 30 best-selling books. It was a bulletproof plan that got Janine Shepherd out of the spinal ward to be a pilot, an author, a speaker, and a mother, despite still being classified as a paraplegic. And it was a bulletproof plan that got Grant Cardone, after 10 years of drug addiction from the age of 15 to 25, where he was refused entry to his own mother's house and beaten to within an inch of his life, to achieve all the extraordinary things that he has. So a bulletproof plan is one of the most important things that you have, because it not only creates relentless action, it gives you superhuman powers for resilience and resourcefulness, which I think are two of the most important attributes anyone can have in life if they want to be a success: resourcefulness and resilience. And one of the most interesting people I interviewed for Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, was Rob Dyrdek. And admittedly, I hadn't actually heard of Rob Dyrdek before the whole project, which is crazy considering he's got more than 12 million followers on Facebook and Instagram. Just between those two platforms, he's got more than 12 million followers. So if the name doesn't ring a bell to you right now, that's totally cool. You can still learn so much from this story and his journey and his extraordinary career, as I did. And 2 years ago, I drove to his penthouse office in Beverly Hills, so about a half an hour drive from where I live here in LA to Beverly Hills, and I caught the lift up to the top floor. And as I sat there waiting for him, I could see his 99 truths of business that adorned the elevator well. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, I encourage you to go and watch the YouTube version of this episode so you can see these 99 truths of business to find out just how seriously Rob takes these detailed plans. And as I looked out the windows, there were 360-degree views of Beverly Hills and LA, one of the most iconic cities on earth. Rob came out and he stands at 5'7", so I'm 6'2", so already we had a bit of a difference in height. Rob was wearing a hoodie and a cap, pair of jeans, so a super humble and unassuming dude. And we walked into his office and we sat down, just him and I, for about 2.5 hours, and he ran me through his entire philosophy on life, success, and business, and just about everything in between. And I was blown away, not by just how generous he was with his time or how candidly he shared his story with me, but how insightful and spiritual he was. This is an incredibly intelligent guy who had become smart by taking purposeful action through his entire life and being constantly focused on a growth plan so he can continue to level up despite the achievements that he had along the way. And most people who look at a photo of Rob see the cap and his skateboard and the hoodie and probably might not think much of him. But here is a guy who has earned every single success that he has through hard work. And so it's safe to say that right now I'm a fan, and we need to go through some of the most significant moments in his life and his story. And I'm going to be revealing things that I have never actually shared before from the interview that I had with him, because success leaves clues, and it's up to us now as a result of that interview and this podcast for you to figure out how you can apply the lessons that changed Rob's life, how you can apply them in your own life as well. So Rob grew up in Ohio, and he was just an ordinary kid, and he attended a skateboarding tournament in a town called Dayton. So that was Dayton in Ohio, and prior to that, Rob was 11 years old at the time, but a common misconception, he actually wasn't born with a skateboard. He had never even been on a skateboard when he was 11 years old and was attending that skateboard tournament. So he was watching it and following around one of the pro skaters, a guy by the name of Neil Blender. And at the end of the tournament, Neil was walking to his limousine that was going to take him home. And as he hopped into his limousine, Rob said to him, "Hey, I don't think there's enough room for you and that board." And Neil turned around and said, "You know what, you're right." And he handed Rob his board. Now, for an 11-year-old kid, learning one of the universe's most valuable lessons, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. An absolutely powerful story, and of course, an enormous twist of fate that changed Rob's life forever. And I'm sure neither he or Neil would have known it at the time. So at that time, that is when Rob really, he started skateboarding for the first time, and he practiced and practiced and practiced like crazy. And he wanted to be a pro skater like his hero, Neil, the man who gave him the board. So a few years later, Rob moved to California, and eventually his dream came true. He became a pro skater, but he also began shaping the culture of the quickly growing sport then as well. So skateboarding was on a really big growth spurt right then. So Rob wasn't just a skater. He was also a clothing designer. So he would design shoes, and he even worked for a brand called DC, which a lot of you might have heard of. And he designed dozens of signature models from his own unique patterns and styles, and they went on to sell millions and millions and millions of pairs. So already I hope you're starting to see a bit of pattern of some of the ways that Rob was able to constantly level up in everything that was going on in his life. And he was never really satisfied with the success that he had, which can always be a good thing or a bad thing. But he was fearless in everything that he was doing. So he would always try his hand at everything he could. And as he started to rake in millions and millions of dollars, these lofty highs were tempered by some pretty deep lows as well. But to stay grounded and to stay focused on his plans and always leveling up in everything that he was doing, Rob read books like Think and Grow Rich, and he surrounded himself with down-to-earth people. And importantly, he also continued to ask for whatever he wanted in his life. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And during our interview, Rob said to me, What's grounded me is the relentless pursuit of growth and having a bigger picture for what I'm meant to accomplish. It's knowing that these stages are just part of the process and not the final destination. And I want to repeat the last bit of that quote. It's knowing that these stages are just part of the process and not the final destination. And I love that from Rob. Think about your own life right now, or times when you felt unhappiness or frustration. A lot of the times that stems from the contradiction between where we are now and where we think we should be. But what if we flip that idea on its head for a second? What if wherever you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be? What lessons is this situation teaching you right now? And more importantly, how are your current circumstances preparing you for your future? Because if you're clear on what success looks like to you and you've got a bulletproof plan, you just need to focus on putting in the work each day. And that should excite you because you know that each day it's getting you to where you need to be. And a lot of people ask me for productivity hacks, and there is one superhuman productivity hack that I have never spoken about before, and that is to be inspired. Because when you wake up and you are inspired, it doesn't matter how many hours of sleep you've had, it doesn't matter where you're working from, and it doesn't matter how much money is in your pocket. All you need is a device that you use to create. So for me, it's my laptop and occasionally my phone, but it could be something as simple as a notepad. Because when you're truly inspired, nothing can stop you. You need to be the hero of your own story and be inspired by your own future. Your current circumstances don't have to be your final destination. Think bigger and trust the process. And being crystal clear on what he wanted gave Rob the inspiration to create these detailed plans for what he wanted to achieve in all areas of his life, not just on the skateboard. And Rob said to me, as I've continued to level up, I stop and decide what the answer is, and then I build my life backwards from there. How many of you are thinking about your future and then working backwards? And for people who have been connected with me for a long time, you might have connected the dots that is where I created the success plan template from. It's interviews with people like Rob. I realized there are resources that we need to create to help people figure out your perfect destination in all areas of your life. And once you've got that, it is so much easier to backtrack to figure out what actions you need to take today and tomorrow that are going to get you to where you need to be. But if you're not willing to do what Rob does and what all these other successful people do, and you're not willing to even create an idea of what success looks like for you, then you have no one else to blame for any misery and misfortune that you come across in your life. Success leaves clues, and you need to figure out how you can apply them each and every single day to help get you to where you need to be. And think about most athletes when they retire from sport. So some athletes, they get a job in the commentary box if they're particularly high profile or if they're good with people. But for most, they just disappear and you never hear from them again. And that's what happened to most of Rob's peers from that skateboarding era. But Rob was not comfortable with that reality. As you've heard me say many times before, the most important opinion is how you feel about yourself. And the level up that Rob mentioned earlier came in the form of an unlikely career in entertainment, where he went on to ultimately control the full multi-platform integration. So most people in entertainment would just be paid a one-off talent fee, but that's not what Rob had arranged. He owned the production company. He oversaw the distribution plan, and he even showcased brands that he was affiliated with. That's the full platform multi-integration. He even starred in many of these TV shows, putting his body on the line and setting 21 Guinness World Records, which of course turbocharged the promotion of his media empire as well. So before you know it, Rob was presiding over this media empire that's generating tens of millions of dollars each year. It's super smart. But for all his success, and Rob was very quick to emphasize, he made a point of reinforcing this to me, that his crowning glory, aside from his family, is the Dyrdek machine, which is a venture capital company that he created in 2016 to help high growth startups basically knock it out of the park. So Rob doesn't just want to be an investor in these businesses, he wants to be a partner. And those 99 truths that we mentioned earlier that adorn the elevator well, he's actually got them featured on the Dyrdek Machine website. And any business that wants to have Rob invest in it and be part of the Dyrdek Machine needs to have fulfilled those 99 truths. That's how detailed he is. But above all, the people he most likes and the companies and the founders who he most enjoys are the ones who fulfill two simple attributes. First is a zest for life, and second is a bulletproof plan. And I hope you're starting to see how a bulletproof plan, having one, not only enables you to turbocharge your own growth, but it gets people excited in you and everything that you're doing. Many people would argue that Rob has no right to be a major player in the entertainment world. I mean, after all, how many former skateboarders or just professional athletes in general can you name who went on to have bigger and more successful careers after their sporting pursuits had ended? But despite what the haters say, being dedicated to a detailed growth plan has been the foundation of Rob's long-term success. Today, he owns companies in seemingly every industry, everything from luxury goods and virtual reality to health supplements, clothing, media, and even plant-based foods. And at 44 years old, and to maintain harmony in his life, he focuses on three things. First, working on ventures he believes in. Second, committing to mastery of the business world. And third, creating a platform of love for his young family. It's this life plan, what Rob described to me as his rhythm of existence playbook, that maintains his infinite well of energy and is what he regards as his greatest accomplishment, because he's able to fit so much into this one extraordinary life that he has had, and still in his early 40s as well. Rob said to me, it's about creating your entire universe, about you being at your best, living with energy each day and just being happy. That's the ultimate freedom. I have a clear vision for literally everything in my life, and I think about it every day. God, I love that. I think about that in the context of the productivity tip that we spoke about earlier, about being inspired. How truly inspired is Rob? He's clearly a man on a mission. So figure out what you can do in your life. Have these big dreams, create a detailed growth plan, and then be inspired as the hero of your own story. And too often, ambitious people get caught up in a frenzy of activity. That's what we spoke about in the last episode about people who might be sitting on the couch and they want to go and run a marathon, but it's not sustainable because people forget to realize that 1 hour of planning can save you 10 hours of doing. So you need to take massive action in creating your unique definition of success in all areas of your life, and then build a detailed plan to make each one a reality. And then once you've done that, you just need to focus on a simple mission. And that's win the day, where you take simple and consistent action. But importantly, it must be done in that order. Define, plan, and then get to work. A clear vision and a detailed plan create that pathway, that bridge between where we are now and our dreams. That keeps us focused on what actions that we need to take each and every day, and it's going to start naturally attracting those people and those resources into our life who can help make it a reality. And when adversity strikes, as it inevitably does for all of us, it enables us to prove how badly we want it and persist in spite of overwhelming odds. But most importantly, it enables us to embrace the struggle when most people surrender to it. And preparing for this episode, I was looking back through all the research notes that I had from Rob and thousands and thousands and thousands of words I had just from this interview with Rob. And I wanted to share this one other gem that he mentioned during our interview. Rob said, being great is unsustainable. I try to be consistently good. Being consistently good is what gets to extraordinary achievement, because you don't get burnt out along the whole process. And so putting this whole formula together, we need to think about it's the success definition plus detailed plans that leads to consistent action. And then it's that consistent action multiplied by time. That's what leads to extraordinary achievement. That is the whole formula, but you need to have every single one of those areas for it to work. And just as we finish up here, I want to revisit that quote from the start of this episode that Rob said, everything you seek to achieve, build a believable plan. I hope that means a lot more to you now than it did when we first mentioned it at the start of the episode. Now reflect on the goals in your own life. For everything that you want to achieve, do you actually have a detailed plan to achieve it? If you don't, go and download the Success Plan template. It's available from the link in my bio on Instagram. And that is what you can use to get a clear idea of what your future looks like and get excited and about being the hero in your own story. And for those who don't know, Rob is also a huge Think and Grow Rich fan. He reads it every year because he knows it, or he said to me that every year as we get older, we have more and more life experience. So everything in the self-help field, we don't notice something new in the book. We notice something new in ourselves because of all our life experiences each time we read it. That's why it means more and more to us as we get older. And on that point, Rob said to me, the foundational principles of achievement you can only digest based off experience. When you begin to manifest based off applying these principles and you begin to hone that, you read Think and Grow Rich again, and it's like, wow, this really is what I'm doing. I think self-help books should be read every year just to remind yourself. There's no way to fully apply something that complex until you've had achievements to help you believe it. Powerful stuff. And it's once we see results, that's when we start doubling down on our efforts, and that's where we create the real magic. And it clearly worked for Rob. So you can learn more about Rob's story in Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, which is available on Audible and ebook and hardcover and everywhere around the world where you can find books. So it's not just Rob's story. You can go and find out the stories of a lot more inspiring people and start creating a blueprint for your own life. So that's all for episode 3. This topic got me really excited, and I hope you've got some actionable tips that you can go and apply in your own life right now. So until next time, remember to get out there and win the day. Onwards and upwards always.